Welcome. In this video, I want to talk about a more user-friendly way of syncing files that are locally on your computer with a GitHub repo that you've set up in your GitHub account. So in the previous videos, I talked about how to do this from the command line or terminal. If you didn't follow that process, it's a little bit more complicated. This is a much easier process. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to go into GitHub and you're going to go into the repo. So let's say I have my repo that I set up in GitHub earlier. It's called demo site. And if you didn't follow the previous videos, then right now your GitHub repo has no files. It's probably totally empty. I have some files here because I just walked through how to sync them up from the terminal. But maybe you've got an empty repo over here. Then I've got my files that are stored locally on my computer. I have them in a folder called OER inside of a folder called demo site. So these are all of the files. They've all been updated very recently. If you're working in Posit Cloud, then what you'd want to do is once you're done working, you've got your website looking just like you want to do it after you click the render button. You're going to want to export your project, save it locally on your computer someplace, and then access those files wherever you downloaded them from Posit Cloud. But at this stage, you've got a bunch of files saved locally on your computer, and you just want to move them into GitHub. And maybe your GitHub repo is empty. So I'm in my repo. I can click Add File, and I want to upload files. And this just opens a drag and drop and drag. So I would copy all of these files, drop them in over here. So this added all of the files in the main directory, as well as all of the files in the docs subdirectory and so on. So this added everything that was in that, put it over here, but be very careful. I haven't added it yet. So this has just said, hey, these are a bunch of files that I would like to change or add or whatever the case might be. It's not going to make those changes until you commit them. So then you would need to come down here and say something like my first upload. You want to check the first box, which is commit these directly to the main branch. I'm not going to click this button because I already have those files there, but then you would click commit changes, and now those files are going to be copied into GitHub, and you're all caught up with the process that took much longer to go through the other way. The only downfall here is every time you want to make changes to a file, you're going to have to mess around with them in RStudio or on the Posit Cloud, update the version locally on your computer, and then come over here and say add a file, and then drag that file in, and then commit that change. So don't forget this step. After you drag files into this window, I've made that mistake. I'll navigate away from this page without clicking the commit changes button. And then those changes have actually never been applied. And I'll wonder, like, why didn't all those files get added? So it's really important that before you navigate away from this page, you click the commit changes button. And every time you make new changes, your workflow is going to be drag the file from your file manager into this website over here, and then click the commit changes button. And then that's going to update your GitHub repo to have the same version of the file that you have locally on your computer. But I will cancel this because I already have all of these files copied in over here. Okay, so that's great. So let's just check in with each other and make sure that we're all in the same spot. We've got our GitHub repo synced with the versions that we're working with locally on our computer, whether that's in RStudio or Posit Cloud. And I've already used these files to create a website that I was able to look at just locally on my computer. So now all of those files that built that website locally on my computer have been pushed into GitHub. And now I just need to change the settings in GitHub so that that gets a web page that's open to the public. So I'll do that in the next video.